Not at all. I think Thursday I was here with Samins on what the papers
are saying.
And both of us agree that I don't see how the NPP is going to change their flag bearer. I believe that Bawumia will win. But my concern was I wanted him to win by maybe 70% or more, not by the margin he won with, even in the last elections. I believe that would have sent a stronger signal. But I think what has worked, there's also a little difference, because in the previous election, because they were in government, they couldn't attack him well.
Yeah.
This time around, the onslaught and the attack he had to endure to be able to get this far. The percentage he got is still really good, because if you look at the propaganda and all the things said against him, all the problems of previous Akufo-Addo government blamed on him and all that, it's not easy to face 4 people, and all of them in one way or the other are keeping the loss of the party on you, and at the same time you are able to get such a margin. It's not be easy.
So the narrative blaming him alone for the 2024 defeat,
it played a huge role, because you see, all the 4 people who he was contesting with, all of them are, from one speech or the other, one action or that, are trying to paint the picture that because he's vice president and it's at a higher level, if the people are not satisfied with the Akufo-Addo government, they should blame him for it. And you know, the party had a lot of issues, and so people were angry. And you know, losing election by that margin, obviously, the main message would be, okay, change everybody because we lost election by that margin. So when the contestants were also happy on it the more, it's supposed to deepen the anger in people, and for people to actually say, okay, then let's change him. But I think that his campaign team also did a good job by countering those narratives and also pushed back to ensure that people will know. And I think that the vote only is clear that the delegates decided that they can't blame the loss on him alone. They can't fault him alone, because it's not a one-man government. Government is a lot of people. And I think, looking at all the things people have said about government and how they try to blame him, I think getting this percentage is reasonable, is respectable, because it's not been easy. If a party loses the election, one of the things that people do is to whip up people's anger, to whip up people's anger against whoever was in government. So that was my fear, that it was going to work against him. But clearly, if you look at the results, it really didn't work against him, because even if you look at the total votes he got, he only lost about 7,500 votes in the total vote he got from the previous one. He lost about 7,500 votes. The main issue is about Ken losing over 25,000 votes.
True.
And Brian, a first timer, rising so significantly, almost close to Ken, 18 point something, 23 point something. Ken was able to beat Brian by just about 10,000. And it's that to me, I think that was the narrative. But if you look at my paper, I done analysis about Brian's rise threatening Ken's, and I look at the similarities between Brian and Ken. I looked at it that, look, they are all businessmen. They were touting their potential, that they are business. They all said they are rich. Okay, they were all former members of parliament. They all said they own a lot of businesses. They all touted similar things, and they all said they were rich. So the delegates were expecting the rich people to pay more. And I in my assessment, I believe that, I think Brian really paid. And was maybe was able to beat Ken in terms of the pay. Because look at it, interestingly,
at the point, the potency of Ken's "I am rich" message was diffused by Brian.
Yes, that's what I see. Now, because if you listen to the delegates, anytime Brian goes around, they seem to be happy, because they will tell, oh, Brian has given us this, Brian has given us this, he has promised that on the voting day he will give us this. And so I think Brian really invested money, and if you look at it, interestingly, they both won one region each. Ken won Central, and Brian won Volta. If you look at the 16 regions, they shared it 8-8 between Ken and Brian. Between Ken and Brian, if you look at the figures they got, Brian won 8 regions. If you look at just between Ken and Brian, Brian had more votes in 8 regions than Ken. So they actually divided the country. And interestingly, the 5 regions up north, Ken won only one.
Brian actually did better.
Better there. And then he came down south. He beat Ken at the eastern region. beat Ken in the Volta region and another region. So you see that Brian's strategy that if Ken say I'm rich, I also show him that I'm rich. I think really it was, so you realize that I am of the view that is really what decreased Ken's vote, because if people decided they are going to vote for you because you can pay, and somebody comes and is paying more than you, obviously for those people, their vote is about who is paying bigger. So you look at a lot of things and I say, okay, I'm not surprised that things turn out that, because clearly they look so similar. And if Ken is in the contest and Brian is able to make this number, it's a real threat to Ken's ambitions, because if there's any contest next time, Brian did similar investment, it's possible that Brian could overtake Ken. Brian could overtake Ken. Because for first time to get this number is quite interesting. And I think that Brian has established that, look, if it's about money, if it's about work, if it's about own companies, if it's about I supported the party, I gave the party this and that, if it's about all those things, then he equally has a similar record to Ken.
Right.
You see, the Bawumia camp, they focus on their messages more than touting whether it's he said it's not a rich person, but a poor person also deserves to be president. So for me, I think those who voted for Bawumia, they voted for him purely because they really wanted him. And I think that clearly, if you look at Bawumia winning 40 regions across Ghana, it's a message that out of 16 regions, he alone was able to win the 14 regions. And if you look at the Ashanti region, which is the stronghold of the NPP, he's won like about 80 or 85% of all the constituencies in the Ashanti region, and won the Ashanti region actually. So clearly, it's obvious that the party is in the mood that they want Bawumia to be the want to lead the party to whatever level they want to go to. And I think that it's important for them now to look at it. Now it's about strategy. And I was telling somebody that I think Ken misused his opportunity. Okay, when he was able the last election, the figures he got, and everybody said Ken is a powerhouse. If I were to be advising, I'd have told him that I should contest Bawumia. But I've told him that make yourself the next in line after Bawumia. Just support Bawumia. If Bawumia is no longer there, everybody comes for you. But now that you have gone to this election and your figures has decreased, this is the same thing that happened to Alan Chamanti. And I was saying it here the last time, that when Alan contested Anado in 2007 and the votes were closer, he was going to go second, he stepped down. That was his biggest bargaining chip. If Alan had not contested Akufo-Addo again in any primaries, Alan would have been the alternative leader to Akufo-Addo. Nobody would have been able to do that. But the moment he went challenging Akufo-Addo in the following primaries, people say, okay, if you have come to challenge now in additional primaries and now you lost massively, then you are not the next to Akufo-Addo. That is what has given people the chance to also feel that then they can enter the race. And that ended up shifting Alan's importance. So
for you, Ken should have positioned himself as the next. If
I were the one advising him, I would have told him that, look, there's no need. This is a former person who wants to contest. Allow him, support him, but position yourself that everybody knows that you got 30-something% in the previous. So everybody knows that you are the next person that the party wants if Bawumia is not there. So if you don't contest him and your votes are dropped to this level, because politically there's a psychological message that Ken's popularity in the party is waning. The vote you've got, because it's reduced, the message will be that your popularity in the party is even winning. And that
is it also not important to contest for relevance?
No, you see, that's what the politics is about, strategy. So Brian, what he got now, those around him, if they advise him to go and contest similar primaries in the future, they should look at the events clearly. Alan, if Alan had contested Anado again after the 2007, Alan would have been the one that to succeed Akufo-Addo, whether they like it or not. Because they had a vote and they had to go to second round. And he said, okay, let Nana go. So if he has been able to step down for Nana to go, that means that he's the person. And party people will always, party people always know that internal primaries create a lot of problems for them. So if they know that you are strong and you could have contested, but you say you are waiting for this person's turn before you come, party people will be more interested in you. But when they see that you are always contesting and internal primaries bring a lot of confusion within the party, they are likely to rather say that you are part of the people who are bringing problems into the party. So for me, I think that politics is not always about contest. I always say that politics is more about negotiations. It's about backroom negotiations than rather contest. But we understand politics more rather from the point of contest rather than backroom negotiation.